Hi everybody, it's Karen from Bible-based homeschooling, and I am doing a live video here, just making sure it's working. Yesterday I posted it. Oh, let's see. Is it working? Because it's not on my page. Let's just check this, see if it's working, and there it is. Okay, yesterday I did a live video here for you all about different resources and how I'm planning without a planner, and I put it up over on the Simply Living for Him page accidentally, so I'm just making sure that this is working. So this is for Bible-based homeschooling, and so far this week I have done 2 live videos. I have done a video showing how we use science in our homeschool and some other resources, and you can find that on the Facebook page. And I also did a video yesterday that, like I said, I shared it on the page, but it's also over on my Simply Living for Him page. And that was all about how I am planning our homeschool right now without a planner. So if you want to know about that, go check it out. And then I also shared some of my favorite resources for language arts for different ages. So today I wanted to talk about how we use the Bible as our main textbook for 1 year in our homeschool. That's when this website was born, and I get questions about this all the time. I speak about this at conventions. I have a free ebook about it on the website. But I thought it would be great to be able to actually interact and answer your questions today. So I have some of my favorite resources. I just went and scoured our homeschool closet and got some of my favorite resources out, and I'm going to show you those in a minute. But let me just tell you a little bit about how we use the Bible as our main textbook for 1 year in our homeschool. This was several years ago, and I had that summer gotten this idea that I wanted to use the Bible as our main textbook, no other curriculum. Although we did end up using math because I didn't trust myself to teach math. But what we did was we incorporated science and history and language arts, writing assignments, spelling, geography. Everything we did that year came from what we were studying in the Bible. So you can think of it like it was a giant unit study, and it was our most amazing homeschool year ever. And there's just so much I could tell you about how God worked that year. But one of the main things that reasons that I wanted to do that year was I just kept feeling like, how could our family not be transformed if we are in the Bible for hours a day? I mean, think about how much time you spend in your homeschool day, right? So you're studying all these books for hours, right? In the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, whatever your schedule is. And I thought, how awesome would it be if we were in the Bible that amount of time? So what I did was we started studying in Genesis, and we would read a passage every day for a week, the same passage every day. So it might have been a chapter, but we went through all of Genesis. There may have been a few parts that we skipped back then because my kids were younger, but we did go through like a chapter about a week, depending on what it was. And we would read the same chapter every day for 5 days. So you may seem like, that's weird, why would you want to read the same thing every day? But we never got bored of it. Every single day it was fresh and new, and we saw something else. So the first day I would read the passage, and we just went straight through Genesis. So for the first day, I would read, and then the next day one of my other children would read, and the next day another would read, and that's how we would do it. So they were practicing their reading skills while we were reading, and then we would, every day was different. Some days were very history focused, some days were very science focused. It wasn't like we had a block like this is history time, this is science time. We sort of just used the Bible, and our discussions went from there. But I brought in a lot of other resources. I have to tell you that it was our most amazing year, and the reason I feel like I had that feeling that we needed to be in the Bible so much that year was it was a very difficult year for our family. My husband was laid off from his job in October, and here we were just starting in September, with being in the Bible, and I was like, how could this not be just an amazing transformation? But I didn't realize that God was equipping us and he was preparing us, because when my husband lost his job in October, I realized we needed to be in the Bible that much that year. So it was a really cool experience. And I talk all about that in the book, on the website, when I speak at conventions. But I wanted to make sure that today, this video was for you and to answer your questions on how we use the Bible as our main textbook. So if you're watching out there, please write in the comments below your questions. Have you done this? Are you thinking about doing this? This isn't something I feel that anybody has to do. It was really something that God laid on our heart, on my heart, to do for our family that year. And I hear from so many people out there that, you know, they are wanting to do this, whether it's for 1 year. You can just do it for a few months. You don't have to take your whole year to just study the Bible. But so many people are asking me questions about it. So if you are out there and you have a question, or you have an idea to share, or a great resource, write it in the comments below. And I wanted to show you some of our resources that we actually used that year to pull in with our study. So as I told you, we were studying Genesis when we studied the Bible as our main textbook. And so I pulled in a lot of resources from Answers in Genesis. They have such great things online and such great books. One of our favorite books we used that year was the New Answers book by Ken Ham. We also used a lot of their online resources that they have just a kids section. So a lot of times for science and history, we just went to resources like this. There's great DVDs out there. I have in my free ebook on Bible-based homeschooling a whole list of the resources that we used, or recommendations, so you can find that. Also, if you go on Bible-based homeschooling, I have different sections at the top of the menu bar for science resources, history resources, whatever it is. I will also put the links in the comments when I'm finished talking about all the different resources I'm going to show you. But for instance, when we studied Genesis, we pulled in a lot of Answers in Genesis resources. For science, we got to do a lot of fossil study when it came time for Noah and the flood. And this was a resource that I found, I think, Master Books. Yes, this is Master Books. They have some great resources as well. And this one is just a great, resource or when you're studying the Ark and things like that. We also used this book. It's kind of old, from Ken Ham, What Really Happened to the Dinosaurs. Again, these are great things that you can pull in for your resources. And a really good book that I would recommend is Genesis, Finding Our Roots. And this is actually a Ruth Beechick book, and she has a whole book about Bible-based homeschooling, basically about using the Bible for your family, for your homeschool as your foundation. And I have that available on the website, that link, but I will put the links in the comments as well. So this was a great resource when we studied Genesis. And again, it's Genesis, Finding Our Roots, and it's by Ruth Beechick. So if you have any questions while I'm talking, please come over and ask your questions. Have you thought about using the Bible as your main textbook? Have you thought about doing something like this? And just ask away how it works. Another resource that is always good just to have on hand when studying the Bible, The Complete Works of Josephus. This is a book I really enjoy using to go back for historically, to see that the Bible is a true historic account. And you can find, books like this. And also, I pulled this one out. Now, this isn't about Genesis, but when we were studying the New Testament and the Romans, I loved this book. This is called City, A Story of Roman Planning and Construction. And it has all these great detailed illustrations and information about what life was like during the Roman times. There's a few different types of books like this. Again, I usually get them on Amazon. I try to get them used, and I can share the link to this one as well. If you are using the Bible as your main text, and you don't know where to begin or you don't know how it should look, please ask your questions because I would love to answer any of your questions. It's something that's hard to explain, over email and over the internet. So I figured live video, great way. I love this new feature. So this would be a great way to answer your questions. I also have another resource here I thought I'd share with you. This is called Hymns for a Kid's Heart. If you are just wanting to study hymns, this is a very fun book. It has the CD, so you can listen to the hymns. And then you have these little there's the hymn, the music, and then you have these little stories or little sort of devotions that go with it. And this was really cool to use when we wanted to study hymns. Hi, Saranda. Was my husband and my kids on board? Oh, yes. You're asking, was my husband and my kids on board with this direction? I would like to do this with our family. Yes. When I did this, again, the idea came to me that spring. I was thinking, I had actually been speaking at a homeschool convention here in New Jersey where I live. And Mr. Mark Hamby of Lamplighter Publications was there. And he had actually spoken at one of his topics about, he just said somewhere in there, this one statement that stuck with me. He said if he could go back to like around the age of 12, he would have a child just study the Bible at that age. And for some reason that stuck with me. So I didn't want to take this as like just one of Karen's ideas that she runs with. I wanted to really pray about it first. So I really started praying about it, and I had that idea in my head. What would it be like to just study the Bible? But not just for my 12-year-old, because I think my daughter at the time was probably 11, 12. But I wanted to do it with the whole family because, like I said in the beginning, I really saw that being in the Bible that many hours a day would be transforming. Hi, Leslie. So anyway, I prayed about it a lot first. I didn't just run with this, crazy idea because it's sort of like, what? No curriculum? But the really cool thing is, like I said in the beginning of this video, my husband lost his job that year, and it was in October. And so being in the Bible prepared us spiritually. But how great is God? We didn't buy any curriculum that year. He knew I wouldn't have the money to buy all this curriculum. So that was really cool. I mean, we did use a lot of these other resources, but a lot of them I found at the church library or, very inexpensively online and things like that. But yes, my kids were on board. There wasn't really, they were at the time preschool, I think second, fourth, and sixth grade, I think. So, we had a lot of fun just doing all different things for all different ages. I have some questions here. Let me go back down. Melody, I am using the Bible as textbook. I am doing the New Testament. You mentioned a few books. Are there more for Roman culture during Jesus' life? If you look on Bible-based homeschooling and just search in the bar Romans, some things may come up. Otherwise, I can see what I have and I will try to post about them, because after we did the Genesis, we did that year Genesis, the whole thing, and then part of Exodus. And then we did do the New Testament next year, but we didn't do it as our main textbook that year. We sort of did it separately as like a Bible study. So we did study the Roman culture for a while. That was our history that year. So I will see what I can find and pull up for you. But that's awesome. How's it going using the Bible? Is it good? Are you enjoying it? Let's see. We have some other questions. Susan says, I have a gifted 12-year-old and would love to do this, but not sure how. What about science? For me, I found that there's so much science in the Bible. God is the author of science. So what better place to start? But again, like I said, we did Genesis and there's a ton in there. Creation week. Literally every day of creation week is science. You can study animals forever. You can study birds. You can study plants. So when we studied the creation week, we could have went with that really for months, but I guess we spent maybe a couple of weeks studying that. But it was a time where for science, it was very rich, just in creation week. Actually, Apologia, who I talked about the other day, their science is for elementary based on the creation week. They have the flying animals, they have the ocean creatures, they have the land animals. So you can actually tie in any of those science resources with your study. Actually, we did use the botany book that year sort of as a supplement. We didn't do it like fully, but we did use it sort of as a supplement when we were studying plants in the creation week. So there is a ton of science in the Bible that you can study. And like I said, there's a lot of these resources that you can pull in. Some days when we studied the Bible as our main textbook, we would just read the passage, we would discuss it. And I talk about this on the blog, I had pulled out all their spelling words from the passage. So some days we would kind of focus on that. Some days we would have a discussion about the flood or whatever, and it was just a ton of science and history, and it was all sort of intertwined together. It wasn't like separate subjects. Everything sort of meshed together beautifully. Okay, so Leslie, you have a 7th grade student. Yes, go on Bible-based homeschooling on the website. There is an ebook under the ebook menu at the top. Click on that and it'll take you to a link for Bible-based homeschooling. It's a free ebook, and I list a lot of these resources that we used in there, and you can find out a little bit more detail about how we use the Bible as our main textbook. What links would I suggest? Jay Garcia is asking for free printouts. Just search in Google free printouts. I mean, there's so many nowadays. I have a few. If you search under the tag on Bible-based homeschooling for printables, you should probably get some that would come up. But if you're just looking for free printables, just search. You'll find tons. Free homeschool printables, Bible homeschool printables. Put those kind of keywords out there. But there was one other thing. Oh, what people ask me a lot, what Bible we use. So, okay, that year we studied the Bible as our main textbook. That was history, science, geography, language arts. I have in the free ebook, a whole list, and also there is a post on Bible-based homeschooling. I'm going to put all these links in the comment section here after I'm done recording. For writing assignments, how we did language arts, I picked out writing assignments for each age level based on the passage we were studying that week. So you can find all that, but I used a lot of writing prompts for creative writing, and I have all those ideas listed in the free ebook, and I believe there is a whole post on Bible-based homeschooling about how we did writing using the Bible as our main textbook. So that year we did everything except math. We did use math completely separately, although there was a lot of resources online for math supplementing our studies. For instance, in Noah, you could do all kinds of word problems about the boat and how big it was and calculations. So we did do a lot of that actually like as a supplement, but our main math that year, we still continued with Math UC, which is what we always use. So that was the only extra thing. We have a question here. Let's see. Melody, you're starting in a few weeks. You're hoping to be more prepared than you are, but you're just going forward. Go forward in faith. Pray about it, really. You're concerned about finding the right amount of school while doing it. Let's see. Grammar, writing. The idea is to take off a traditional curriculum for a year. I know. It's hard to get into that mindset of not traditional. But I have to tell you, part of me thought that year, like, what if I mess up? What if they learn nothing? Okay? And I really said to myself, if I'm following God and I'm teaching my children from the Bible for this year, number one, they're going to gain so much just by being in the Bible for that year that academically, I trust God will fill in the rest. Honestly, how could it go wrong? How could it go wrong being in the Bible that much? But I have to say, there was so much formal school that they still learn, but not formally. Does that make any sense? Because, you know, like I said, I pulled in writing assignments, and I had to look at it as, what's the worst that can happen? You know, they're going to be a little bit behind in that, but they're going to be so rich in what they're learning in the Bible. I truly trust God that if He had this on my heart to do the Bible for, 1 year, that He would fill in, and He did. My kids did not, get behind, and they are totally fine. So But you really have to pray about it for your family. If you're feeling that you have those reservations about, where they're going to be academically, don't ignore that. I'm not saying that, but you have to really figure out what's best for your family. See if I have some more questions. Hi, Sheena. Awesome. Thanks for putting the info in the comments. Yes, when I'm done with this, I'm going to try to put in all the links because these videos that are recorded live right now will be popping up in the news feed later on for people to watch. So I can still answer questions later on because I'll see the comments, and I will also add all the links down into the comments below. Allison, you said that you're trying to find the balance between Holy Spirit-led teaching each day and planning ahead with what we are going to do and what to write in your record book. I have to say too, and I forget to say this sometimes, where I live in New Jersey, we don't have to show anybody anything. So it made a difference for me probably than for others who have to record and show what curriculum you're using. I know in every state it's different. For me, I had the freedom to sort of do this and not have anybody say, how are you teaching science from the Bible? So I get that. So this may not work for everybody when you have to follow your different standards for your state. But yes, there is a balance. And I truly believe, though, that the Holy Spirit, God, has to come first. And if you seek him first, he will provide what your family needs, and the balance will come. For me, the reason we don't do this anymore, even though I tell everybody this was our best homeschool year ever, because, what we learned spiritually was so amazing, and how it just, we needed it at that time in our life. Like I said, my husband was out of work, so we needed to be in the Bible that much, and we still learned so much from the Bible. But it was a lot of work. I'll be perfectly honest with you and frank. I'm not a big homeschool planner. I'm more of a write down what I do as I'm doing it and after we did it. I have all these grand plans in my head, but do they usually pan out the way they are in my head? No. So I'm definitely more of a loosey-goosey homeschooler, whereas I don't have a huge structured plan. So for this, I had to have a plan in place. I spent weeks in the summer before we started writing down what we would do for each week. And see, that goes very against what I normally do. Normally I have a loose structure and I have an idea of what I want to do, but I don't have every single day or every single week planned out. But for this, for 3 months ahead, so I planned from September to December because I didn't know how it was going to go. I planned in August, I took time and planned all those months and what we would do each week. And I made a spelling list for each child. There were 3 of them at the time for each week, and writing assignments and all this. And it was a lot of work. And honestly, that's why I don't do this anymore. But I don't believe that I had to be in a box, like I can only use the Bible as my main textbook. Because I was starting to feel like that by the end of the year. It was getting a little legalistic. And I was like, no, there's a lot of great resources out there for the homeschooling family. This was what we needed at this time in our family, but it didn't have to be this way forever. And I really feel like God led me to do this at that time for our family, but I didn't have to stay with that forever. And like I said, it was a lot of work for me. And I enjoy now that we use the Bible still as our foundation always, but we use Apology of Science, we use other resources for language arts, and as you guys have probably seen on Bible-based homeschooling right now as a family in the evening, completely separate from our school, our family is reading through the whole Bible together. We started in Genesis and we're going all the way to the end. And that has been amazing just for our family, that we are in this, it's a real, it's become, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just, I don't want to say tradition, but it's our routine. We're doing it every single night. We know, like, after dinner time and before we settle in for bed or whatever, it's okay, it's Bible time. And we're just reading through from Genesis to Revelation. We are right now in 2 Chronicles, and it's just been a wonderful time for our family. I'm going to show you some Bibles because people have asked me, what Bible do you use? And we use different ones. We use different translations. I'm all about commentaries and reading commentaries and things like that. I have some more questions here, so let me just look before I show you those Bibles. Do I know what your state requires? You have to record things, but it's only for you. Oh, okay. Yeah, every state is different. I don't know, from state to state what is required, but I do know that where I live, I'm very blessed because I always say I might not have started homeschooling if there were a lot of rigid requirements because I don't think I would have had the confidence to jump out and do it. So I am very blessed that here in New Jersey, we do not have to show anybody anything. Let's see, you have a kindergartner, Amanda, this year. That's awesome. Welcome to the Homeschool Journey. Is that your first homeschooler, the kindergartner? Susan, you appreciate my honesty. Yes, I'm all about keeping it real. I'm not going to tell you this was so easy and so great and so wonderful if it's not. It was so great and so wonderful and all that, and it was worth the work. But I also believe that, like I said, God didn't call me to do it forever. It was truly for that season of our life. And I am the first to admit that it was a lot of work for me. Some people thrive on that and they love it and they love all the planning and the putting together. For me, it was exhausting. The thought of doing it again the next year was like, maybe we can tweak things a little bit. So yeah, totally have to be honest about that because I wouldn't want to lead anybody into something thinking that, oh, this is so easy and God will throw it together. You do have to do some work too. So for Bibles, people ask me all the time what translation and right now for me, for my reading, my personal favorite is the Keyword Study Bible. And this is the ESV version, which I do enjoy. And this has all kinds of help in there for you. I mean, it is a wonderful resource, and I love this because I love getting wrapped up in the words and where they're used, and I just love, reading the original translations of the original words. But for Bible time for our family, and when we were using the Bible as our main textbook, I love, this is upside down, the Life Application Study Bible. This one happens to be NASB, but I use NIV usually with the kids as well because of all the commentary on the bottom. I love being able to read that with the children. Sometimes I go online and I read the passage and then there's commentary below as well. There's so many great resources, but I love having the commentary right there because sometimes I'm reading it, like especially when we did Leviticus, I needed a ton of help. So I loved being able to read with our kids and study and have commentary. Let's see, Chad and Amanda, you bought Horizon curriculum. Oh, and don't be scared. I see you say you're scared. There's nothing scary. If God's calling you to something, he will equip you. Allison says you're moving on Monday and will not have a homeschool co-op yet to give you assistance in teaching your kids writing skills. Besides IEW, do you have another workbook suggestion? Yesterday I did a video with language arts resources, not necessarily just writing, but it had language arts resources for the younger kids. We have used IEW, and I really like IEW. For my high schooler, there's a great resource that I would recommend just for anybody with all the writing basics called Writers Inc. I got that on Amazon used. And let's see, for writing for my younger ones, I do a lot of, yesterday I was sharing as well, like a journal, like free writing. And I do a lot of Charlotte Mason style. So I try not to teach how to write until they have gotten down just writing. Because especially my boys, they just need to get out their thoughts when they're younger and not worry about, is the punctuation correct? Are there 3 supporting sentences? All that structure. I really feel like that comes much later. So we've been very gentle in our teaching of writing, and it's worked very well. My daughter now in high school is able to apply things to her writing, but early on we didn't jump into all that stuff too quickly. Let's say, did you say Life Application? Yes, this is the Life Application Study Bible. And I have used this Bible for many, 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 many years. This one is NASB, but we also have the NIV. And like I said, we have various translations in our house. We have the ESV, the NIV, the NASB. But the Life Application Study Bible, it's really big because it has all the commentary in the bottom. And for me, I really make good use of reading the commentary along as I'm reading to kind of help me. So this one, again, you can get these on Amazon or CBD or, Lifeway, wherever Bibles are sold. So what are your favorite Bible translations out there? Because I'm always looking for a good Bible. But like I said, this is the one I use for me personally. I don't use this one as much with the kids right now because, it takes you into all the Hebrew and Greek words, and it's amazing. It's an amazing resource. It's my new favorite Bible. So that's the one I use for myself. And do you have any other questions about Bible-based homeschooling? Because now is the time to ask. So many people write me in questions and it's like hard to answer it in an email. So that's why I want to make it available for you guys. Like I said, after I am done recording, I'm going to go into the comments and I'm going to add some links to these resources. Again, I showed you different resources from Answers in Genesis. Oh, one resource I forgot to show you, actually two. A great book for your Bible-based homeschooling is Pilgrim's Progress. I don't have the one, I think I lent it out to somebody, I couldn't find it. I don't have the one that, we've read this one, the Pilgrim's Progress, but it's called Little Pilgrim's Progress. You can find links to this one, I'm sure, on Bible-based homeschooling if you search. It is one of the best books we have ever read in our homeschool as a family, even when my children were young. They loved it. So there's the classic Pilgrim's Progress, but then there's Little Pilgrim's Progress, so the language is a little bit easier for the younger ones to read. And it's an allegory of the Christian walk, and we absolutely loved that book. And this is not the little one, because I was looking for it to show you guys, and I think I lent it out to someone because I couldn't find it. So anyway, that is a great resource just to add to your homeschool, whether you're using the Bible as your main textbook or not. If you're looking for a great resource for your family, that's a Christian resource. This book also is very special to us. We read this book the year we used the Bible as our main textbook because, I wanted to throw in some just stories and read-alouds because I'm big on read-alouds. And this is the story of George Mueller. And I love these books, these Christian heroes then and now, these biographies of great Christian people. This book was so special to us because this, like I said, was the year my husband had lost his job. And the inspiration in this book alone that we needed at that time in our life was just amazing. And I highly recommend this biography. If you want to read about a person of faith and a person of prayer, read about George Mueller. Your kids will love it. We loved it. We loved reading this together. Yes, Susan, you do too. Allison, your favorite, right? So if you have not read this book and you're looking for a great read aloud just, for your family, this is a great one. Now, somebody had a question about my morning time. What does it look like before I start leading my kids into Bible-based homeschooling? You need discipline. Something that I talk about a lot when I'm speaking or I've written about this is I made a rule for myself in the morning that I will see no words before my eyes until I have seen God's word. Because I used to be the one that would pull up the phone in the morning off of my nightstand and check, who texted me and who emailed me and who's posting on Facebook. And I realized I don't want that to fill my mind first in the morning. So I started a discipline for myself that I put up the Bible app from YouVersion on my phone. So when I open my phone in the morning, the first thing I see on my phone that literally pops up is a verse of the day, so that I am filling my eyes and my mind with God's word first. So I started doing that, and I don't just read the verse, then I end up reading the whole chapter, and it transformed my life because now I went from I have to read the Bible in the morning, like this rule I made to I have to read it. I can't wait to see what he has for me in the morning. So that is how I start my time. Now, I don't necessarily study at that time. Sorry, there goes my bread maker. I don't necessarily study that at that time, but I will read that and sort of set my mind where it needs to be set. I am amazed how the verses are always just what I need for that day. And I always start my morning in prayer. And then I may have time later on in the day where I will more study the Bible or, be in the Word more in depth. But I always start my mind and my eyes filled with God's words first. It is transforming, because if you open up the email or you open up the text or if you open up Facebook, you might get negative thoughts in your mind, or you might just be starting to set your mind on things that are not above first, things that are here. And I want to set my mind on things above first. So that is why I made that sort of rule for myself. And it's not a rule anymore. It's just something I have to do. So that is the way that I get myself prepared for the day. Are there any other questions? Hi, Ginger. You're reading George Mueller right now. Oh my goodness, your husband lost his job yesterday. Well, I will certainly pray for that. And I know people told me this because my husband lost his job 3 times in our marriage so far. Hopefully never again, because now he's self-employed. But somebody had told me when he lost his job the 3rd time, I am so excited to see what God's going to do. I know this doesn't make sense, but I'm excited for you. And I was like, you're excited that my husband lost his job? Like, But now that I look back, yes, God had something bigger in store. Ginger, we can talk about that privately on message or something, because I have such a heart for that situation, because we have been through it so many times. But each time it always brought us closer to the Lord and on a better path. And yes, this book was really helpful during that time. Oh, Amber, thank you. I'm glad that I can inspire you, but that's all God, and however he wants to use me to share, what I'm learning, because I'm just a mom walking this journey as well, and he's given me a voice, so I'll use it for good, to share, to encourage, to inspire others. But I make mistakes. I'm just a person, and I'm glad that I can inspire and hopefully share my mistakes so that you can learn from them, but that's part of the journey. So if you guys have any other questions, otherwise I'm probably going to end this shortly, because it looks like my phone is running low on charge and I would hate for it to end. So if it does, you know what happened. But I don't want it to end in the middle. But again, I love doing these videos so I can share resources and I can sort of interact with you guys and answer questions. Please, if you have any ideas for topics for videos in the future, please let me know, either here or over at Simply Living for Him. Simply Living for Him is my ministry page. You can check that out. That's where I just share about my life and my faith and living simply here at our little hobby farm. And we do live videos over there sometimes and show you our chickens and our gardens and all that fun stuff. So you can follow me over there. And we also are going to be opening up registration for our Simply Living for Him 2nd annual retreat next summer. We just had our 1st, and it was so amazing that we're doing it again. So you can find all the information over there. Yay for Homeschool Mama Fellowship. Yes, that's really my heart, is to, link arms together and to support each other. There is enough competition and drama in this world. I don't want any part of it. That's my son coming in making noise. He says sorry. I don't want any part of it. I want moms to be real together, to help each other, to encourage each other, to share in the mistakes and to share in the joys. And when somebody has something that's great that happens to them, let's be happy for them and share in their joy. And when somebody's having a hard time, let's lift them up and, help them out of that struggle. That's what God created us for, these relationships. And as homeschool moms, we have a unique relationship with each other, and we definitely need each other. So watch for more of these videos. Think about other topics you want to hear about and send it over to me, because I'm open to ideas so that I can, yes, you agree, Allison, so that I can, share more on these Facebook Live videos. Again, I'm going to now try to get a lot of links in the comments of all these resources that I shared. And if you have any questions anytime, you can either put them in the comments or feel free to email me at Karen@simplylivingforhim.com. And I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you again soon. Bye.